Top 10 gemstones that were exposed by accident. No, mine was looking for them. No excavation planned for their removal, and no document recorded the moment they entered history. These gemstones surfaced not through science, but through accident, exposed by fire, collapse, mislabeling, or routine audit. Some were stored for decades under the wrong name. Others were embedded in structures no one thought to question. A green diamond logged without a title, a jadeite slab built into a wall, uninscribed and unmapped, a tray of violet-green mineral spheres boxed with chandelier glass in the Louvre, until someone ran the wrong test. Each of them is real, each of them verified, but none of them were discovered in the way a gemstone is supposed to be. They emerged because someone filed the wrong form, drilled the wrong wall, or ignored the correct procedure. They were not sought. They were not expected. And yet, once identified, they couldn't be denied. These are 10 gemstones that no one was looking for. Yet once found, they could not be ignored. Don't forget to press and hold that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe before we begin. Ranked 10th. Goethite, found in a box meant for disposal. The estate inventory was supposed to be routine. The house, a manor in rural Perthshire, had remained untouched for decades. No heirs, no visitors, just files, dust, and furniture under sheets. A logistics firm was tasked with clearing the contents. Among hundreds of objects destined for disposal was a small casket. Wood-framed, nailed shut, unmarked. No lock, no seal, no catalog entry. It wasn't even opened on site. It was loaded, like everything else, onto a van headed for incineration. Only after a delay at the depot, caused by a misfiled insurance form, was the crate reopened. Inside were fragments of rust-colored rods, brittle as bone, arranged in dry straw padding. One warehouse supervisor noted the strange symmetry and took a photo. At first glance, they resembled corroded piping or collapsed scaffolding, possibly scrap left over from 19th century boiler work. No one filed a report, but 3 weeks later, a mineral hobbyist scrolling through an online artifact forum paused. He'd seen radial growth like this once before, in a collapsed hydrothermal shaft in Western Germany. He flagged the image, attached a geochemical overlay, and requested a sample. The test results reversed the assumption. What was thought to be industrial waste turned out to be stalactitic goethite, a form of iron oxyhydroxide that grows slowly, layer upon layer, in sealed environments with specific ratios of moisture and mineral vapor. It wasn't shaped, it wasn't forged. Its formation required conditions not naturally found anywhere in Scotland. When the estate's documents were re-examined, no shipping logs matched. The previous owners left no mention of foreign collections, mineral exhibitions, or scientific ties. Even the box itself, hand-built but without branding or date marks, offered no clue. Only one feature stood out. The interior straw padding matched styles used in specimen transport between 1860 and 1885. Beyond that, nothing. No mine of origin, no regional match, no known twin. Today, the Goethite formation is preserved in a rotating exhibit at the Scottish Mineralogical Archive. The label identifies its structure, chemistry, and classification. But under source, only 2 words: undetermined origin. Ranked 9th, Alexandrite, recovered, then redacted. In late summer 1972, a Soviet military engineering crew prepared to widen a perimeter road in the Smolensk region. Explosives were placed along a basalt ridge deemed geologically stable. One charge misfired. The resulting blast deviated, exposing a vertical fracture that was never part of the excavation plan. Initial visual inspection noted greenish crystalline exposure along fracture line. No immediate samples were recorded. The site was resealed within 48 hours. But a week later, a materials officer from the Ministry of Non-Ferrous Metallurgy, on unrelated inspection, requested access to the site's spoil heap. Among the shattered debris, he recovered 3 nodules showing trichroic behavior under mixed light. Laboratory analysis confirmed chrysoberyl with chromium trace activation, color shift, green to reddish purple under an incandescent source. Index of refraction matched that of Alexandrite. Luster, vitreous. Morphology, consistent with deep primary deposits. The report, dated October 2nd, 1972, was marked, "Strategically non-replicable, do not disseminate." Its contents were routed to the Central Geologic Data Repository, Class 5. No further development was pursued. The site fell within a classified zone and was overbuilt in 1974. The data remained inaccessible for 19 years. In 1991, following the restructuring of the Russian Academy of Sciences and the partial opening of military mineral archives, a limited declassification was approved. Among recovered microfilms was the Smolensk file, including one grainy black-and-white image of an uncut crystal under dual-spectrum lighting, captioned, "Unregistered Alexandrite, exact origin withheld." To this day, no other specimen from the Smolensk blast zone has been traced. No site re-entry has been authorized, and no commercial mining license has ever been issued. The sample may have been archived, absorbed, or discarded, but its documentation remains active as the only confirmed Soviet-era Alexandrite discovery made entirely by accident. Ranked 8th, Garnet, not broken, just misfiled. During the 1920 excavation season at the Valley of the Kings, one sealed ceramic vessel, unadorned and narrow-necked, was tagged for transfer to Luxor's base camp. It was stored among dozens of similar containers. No catalog entry specified its contents. En route to the transport zone, a porter slipped descending a limestone stair. The ceramic shattered. Dust and fragments were scattered. At first glance, the vessel appeared to hold only compacted ash or pigment, but among the debris lay a circular object, deep red, smooth, and heavy for its size. Upon cleaning, it revealed itself, a shallow bowl, roughly 14 centimeters across, perfectly concave with faint carvings around the outer rim. British archaeologist Douglas Mace, present at the time, noted in his journal, "Substance appears lithic yet uniform, unlikely faience, set aside for further examination." No official mention of the bowl appears in that year's excavation report. Its discovery, unplanned and undocumented, fell between administrative gaps. For over a decade, it remained in storage, identified only as stone fragment, ritual basin. In 1933, the object was transferred to the British Museum. Initial classification listed it as composite chalice fragment, material unknown. It remained under that label for nearly 50 years. Only in 1981, during a mineral integrity test run on early Egyptian artifacts, did the anomaly resurface. Advanced spectroscopy revealed the material as homogeneous garnet, likely almandine, with minor pyrope content. Hardness rating, 7.5 to 8.0, no layering, no bonding. The object had been carved with precise concavity from a single garnet mass. No quarry in ancient Egypt is known to have yielded garnet crystals of this size. No parallel item exists in any funerary set from the same dynasty, and no tomb record mentions it. The bowl was never meant to be found in pieces, but because it was, and because someone chose to look closer, it became one of the earliest known ceremonial vessels carved from a single gem. Ranked as 7th, Paraíba Tourmaline, discovered by fracture, not survey. At a hillside in São José de Batalha, Paraíba, the shaft marked B2 was losing favor. Weeks of drilling had yielded only fractured feldspar, mica, and tourmaline, too dark to matter. According to the survey map, the productive corridor should have run 15 degrees north. But one morning, under pressure to meet quota, a junior operator corrected the bit angle manually, shifting slightly west into unmarked ground. The noise changed. Instead of the coarse grind of pegmatite, the drill screamed briefly, then jammed. When the team pulled out the core, it shattered in the open air. What dropped to the ground was unlike anything they'd seen. Not green, not blue, but electric. The samples were sent to Campina Grande for testing. The verdict returned in layers. Tourmaline, confirmed. Natural, confirmed. Color origin, unknown. Only after second-round testing in São Paulo did the copper signature emerge. It wasn't surface level. It was intrinsic. These were not stones treated to look unusual. They were chemically unlike anything in the existing mineralogical record. The mining team, led by Heitor Dimas Barbosa, halted all other operations. They reinforced shaft B2 and began cutting sideways into the pocket. It was small, narrow, under pressure. The surrounding rock crumbled easily, forcing extraction by hand. In total, fewer than 20 kilograms of viable crystal came out before the vein collapsed. Back in the trade market, the stones raised an alarm. No one believed they were natural. Early buyers assumed irradiation, cobalt doping, or even synthetic production. But one by one, the labs cleared them. No heat, no enhancement, no treatment, only copper. The term Paraíba Tourmaline was coined within the year. Its price exceeded sapphire, then ruby, then the diamond. In 1993, a single carat sold for over $10,000. By 2005, prices crossed $50,000. But the original vein, gone. No secondary corridor yielded the same clarity or saturation. Copycat mines appeared in Mozambique and Nigeria, but never with the same crystal lattice. The color could be mimicked. The mineral is approximated. But the actual Paraíba stones, the first, were the result of a mistake. Had the bit not shifted, the vein would have stayed buried. Had the core not broken, the color wouldn't have shown. Had they followed the map, the world would have never known. Ranked 6th, sapphire, not missing, just misread. In Vatican City, beneath the surface galleries and ceremonial archives, sits a storage vault few ever see. Not a reliquary, not a treasury, just shelves lined with crates from previous centuries, many of them labeled only once. In 1976, a materials conservation team was granted access to this vault for a routine audit. Their task wasn't to uncover relics. It was to sort building materials, stained glass fragments, lead trims, colored optics, collected from collapsed chapels and damaged sanctuaries across Europe. Most were unremarkable. Cracked cathedral panes, Murano cullet. But one crate, marked Vitrum Collatum, 1883 transfer, held something heavier. Inside, a leaded glass bezel with a 14-millimeter faceted stone, square table cut, 16 faces, softly luminous under low light, but unusually cool to the touch. The lead mount was oxidized, yet intact. No religious symbol, no Latin engraving, just a tag, non-liturgical material, blue. Dr. Hans M. Roth, a visiting conservator from Freiburg, took a refractometer reading as part of standard intake. He recorded Ri equals 1.76 above the glass, tool mark resistant, no bubble inclusions, no devitrification. A scratch test dulled the steel probe. Impact drop, no shatter. Under spectral light, titanium trace activation. Confirmed. Natural corundum. Blue. Sapphire. But the stone wasn't on any official inventory. Not listed in the Vatican Gemstone Registry. Not cataloged among ceremonial rings or papal insignia. And the crate it came in bore no papal seal. Just an archival handmark from 1883. That year, according to surviving ledgers, a shipment of window ornaments had arrived from a dismantled basilica in Genoa. The sapphire was likely bundled in error, mistaken for cast blue glass by handlers unfamiliar with gem material. No lab equipment existed at the time to prove otherwise, so it sat, unquestioned. For 93 years, after verification, the stone was neither returned to display nor assigned a religious role. Its provenance was too fragmented. Its liturgical function is non-existent. It became what few objects in the Vatican are: verified, real, and unclaimed. As of 2025, it remains in controlled access, stored in climate isolation, under the Department of Non-Liturgical Artifacts. No public image has ever been released. No replicas exist. And no valuation has been assigned because it's never been for sale. It was never lost. It was never hidden. It was filed in a place where no one thought to look. Ranked 5th, Tanzanite, created by fire, discovered by chance. In July 1967, fire swept across the foothills of Marilani, northern Tanzania. It wasn't a large fire, not by national standards. There were no official reports filed, no photos published, just a dry stretch of land scorched overnight by wind-fed flames, leaving behind blackened shrubs, cracked stone, and the scent of mineral dust. When the heat passed, the rocks changed. That's what the locals noticed first. Small surface stones, previously opaque or unremarkable, now glimmered with a strange bluish sheen. Not glassy, not metallic, but alive with color under the afternoon sun. Several Maasai herders collected the fragments out of curiosity. They'd never seen anything like it. No one had. A few days later, those stones made it to Arusha, then into the hands of a gemstone trader who assumed they were low-grade sapphires or heated quartz. Still, he sent a handful to the University of Dar es Salaam for confirmation. What was returned surprised everyone. The samples weren't sapphire, they weren't quartz, they were zoisite, a calcium aluminum silicate, but with an anomaly. The vanadium content was high, the pleochroism extreme. The stones shifted color from blue to violet to burgundy, depending on angle and light. They weren't just unique, they were gem grade. And more importantly, they had never been seen in this form before. Geologists traced the origin back to the Marilani Hills. There, shallow veins of brownish-gray zoisite ran through schist and gneiss, invisible to the eye. But when exposed to sudden heat, like that of a brush fire, the crystal lattice underwent partial transformation. What emerged was not just visible, it was marketable. Natural heating, not artificial, had turned a dull mineral into something never before recorded in the gemological literature. Within a year, the stone was branded. Tiffany and Company gave it a name that stuck, Tanzanite. The marketing was fast. The demand is faster. By 1970, Tanzanite was appearing in Fifth Avenue showcases. By 1980, it had become one of the most sought-after gemstones in the US and Japan. And by 2000, it was officially listed as one of the birthstones of December, the only modern stone to be added to the traditional list in over a century. Yet all of it, the mining, the markets, the mythology, began not in a lab, not in a mine, but in a dry season, with one unrecorded fire and one forgotten ridgeline. Ranked fourth, Burmese Temple Spinel. In August 1998, sustained monsoon rainfall weakened the western facade of a 12th century temple structure in Bagan, Myanmar. The collapse was partial. A corner segment detached and folded outward. No casualties were reported. The initial response focused on stabilizing adjacent foundations. But as repair crews removed the outer layers of eroded brick, a small square cavity was exposed, not visible from any internal chamber. Inside, a bronze container, oxidized but sealed. No markings, no padlock, and no associated inscription on the surrounding plaster. The box was open on site. Inside sat a single oval-cut red stone, approximately 2.1 centimeters across, polished but unset, not wrapped, not paired with relics, just suspended in dust. Laboratory analysis confirmed the identity. Natural spinel, trace chromium, Burmese origin, no heat treatment. Optical behavior consistent with gemstones sourced near the Mogok region, but lacking any hallmark of trade or ceremonial use. The questions emerged quickly. Why was a gem-quality spinel, unmounted, unmarked, embedded within the structure of a temple wall? No historical precedent existed in Bagan-era construction manuals for embedding standalone stones into load-bearing architecture. No cultural records suggested spinel as a ritual material in Theravada Buddhist practice. No fragments of gold, relic beads, or funerary dust were present. No evidence of post-construction insertion. The brickwork surrounding the cavity showed uniform firing, implying the box had been placed during original construction, not added later. But the mystery wasn't treated as theological, it was processed administratively. The Department of Culture logged the find, classified it as a non-labeled embedded object, and transferred it to restricted storage in Naypyidaw. It was never declared a religious item, nor was it entered into the Registry of Sacred Materials, and yet it wasn't dismissed. Since 1999, the spinel has remained in government custody, protected under a non-exhibition clause for unattributed historical assets. It has not been reanalyzed, it has not been moved, and no further cavities have been found in the remaining temples of Bagan. The wall was rebuilt, the plaster resealed, but one record and one stone remain, with no inscription and no known reason for ever having been there. Ranked third, Jadeite, not ceremonial, just structural. In 1955, a structural failure was reported at Structure 7C in the northern P10 Basin, a minor Maya complex undocumented in colonial records, but mapped during the first phase of the University of Pennsylvania's Central Maya Lowlands project. The failure wasn't dramatic, just subsidence. A portion of the east corridor wall had bowed outward, likely due to centuries of hydrostatic pressure. Field engineers recommended partial dismantling. No excavation permit was filed. This was repair work, not archaeology. On the fourth day of brick-by-brick removal, a lintel stone came loose. Behind it, flush to the load path, was another slab. Smooth on one face, dull on the other. Green, dense, resonant when struck. The survey team flagged it as greenstone and assigned it to the ambient field inventory. Not until the end of the season did a geochemist from Universidad de San Carlos confirm what it was. High-purity jadeite, over 90 kilograms, uncut, uninscribed, unmortared, placed not in a tomb or on an altar, but inside a dry joint, carrying architectural load. That made it unique and problematic. In Maya ritual typology, jadeite is the highest status material, reserved for heirloom objects, dynastic burials, and offertory caches. No codices mention jade used as a construction material. No temples show it embedded in masonry. And no prior dig had revealed jadeite as anything but ritual. So what was it doing here? There were no carvings, no markers of ownership. There is no indication that the space was ever sacred. And the wall itself, not ceremonial, no staircase, no stela, no alignments. The Guatemala Ministry of Culture requested immediate removal. The field team resisted, arguing for in situ preservation. A compromise was reached. The slab was lifted, registered under non-ceremonial lithic anomaly, and placed under custodial embargo. It has never been displayed, never included in mainstream Maya studies, never replicated. In the 68 years since, no second case has emerged. No comparable jade lintel has been found in the Petén, Yucatan, or Belizean lowlands. The chamber was restructured, the notes are archived, and the stone, real, confirmed, remains suspended between what it is and what it was never meant to be. Ranked second, Dresden green diamond, not stolen, just misfiled. Before 1945, the Dresden green diamond was considered among Europe's most crucial state jewels, a 40.7-carat natural green diamond, not heated, not enhanced, with a hue caused by natural radiation, and a history traced back to Mughal India. Mounted in a diamond-studded hat clasp for King August III of Saxony, it had remained in the green vault of Dresden since the 1700s. It was not sold, not gifted, it was not inscribed. And in February 1945, as Dresden burned under Allied airstrikes, the diamond, along with dozens of state treasures, disappeared from record. Evacuation orders had been issued, but the city collapsed faster than museum staff could respond. Crates were moved, buildings destroyed, inventories fragmented. Some pieces were traced to safe houses, others, nowhere. The Dresden green was among the latter. No crate number, no transfer sheet, not even a line item in the emergency transport manifest. By 1946, archivists simply marked it unconfirmed removal, status unknown. But 800 miles away in Moscow, an audit was underway. In 1947, a Soviet Cultural Property Task Force began reviewing unregistered valuables held by the Red Army, objects collected from multiple cities under protective seizure. The lists were crude. One ledger marked non-inventory Class B included jewelry item, drop-shaped green gem, gold mount, no Soviet tag, possibly from state collection. No one flagged it until a liaison from the Committee for the Arts noticed the shape. A historical photo from 1938, taken inside the green vault, showed a jewel matching the description, nearly identically. The color, the bezel, the clasp. The mistake hadn't been concealed. It was classification. The most famous green diamond in Europe had been logged as an unverified item. Spectral testing followed. Confirmed. Type 2 a diamond. Natural green. not irradiated, not synthetic. Weight consistent, cut consistent, color identical. The Soviet report noted, likely Dresden piece. Recommend retention pending diplomatic review. But no negotiation followed, no dispute. In 1958, the Soviet Union quietly returned the diamond to East Germany as part of a bulk cultural restitution transfer. No press release, no televised ceremony. It was simply handed back. Today, the Dresden Green is back on display in the restored Green Vault. Its case label includes no reference to Moscow, no note of its 12-year absence. Because technically, it was never listed as stolen. It had simply been misrouted, untagged, and temporarily mislabeled. Its vanishing was accidental, its recovery unnoticed by the public, and its reappearance filed only as Reintegrated Object 1958, identification confirmed. In first place, fluorite, not cataloged, just found by mistake. In 2013, a storage audit began inside a non-public annex of the Louvre, no in the marble halls, not in the sculpture vault, but in a corridor marked Matériaux ornementaux, 18e siècle. Architectural fragments, dislodged moldings, and crates that hadn't been opened since before digitization. One of them, wooden, unsealed, unbarcoded, contained a velvet tray, 12 spheres, pale green to violet, glass-like, but not glass. The label, handwritten, Boule de lustre, supposé, période inconnue. No accession number, no cross-reference, no record in the 1936 inventory, nor the emergency wartime manifest. The only file, a partial entry from 1912, logged and abandoned. At first, the material was assumed to be decorative, pressed or spun glass, but the curvature was mathematically exact, beyond hand-blown variance, and the weight far too low for leaded crystal. A materials analyst from the Musée des Arts Décoratifs requested refractive testing. Initial readings returned an index of 1.43, too low for glass, too high for organics. Spectroscopy followed, trace calcium, strong fluorine bonds, color zoning, internal crystallization patterns. It wasn't artificial, it wasn't modified, it was natural botrioidal fluorite. But with no known mine, no matching locality, and no analog anywhere in the mineralogical record of Europe. The problem deepened. No French site had ever reported fluorite in this morphology. No shipment records mentioned a find of this scale or color sequence. The spheres bore no export stamps, no mine tags, no collector IDs. They weren't part of a known trade route. They weren't part of any registered donation. They just appeared. 12 spheres, botrioidal, untreated, uncatalogued. They were not entered into the Louvre's public collection. They remain under internal control, filed as matériaux non attribués, origine géologique indéterminée. No press release was issued, no display case assigned, no name given, because nothing about the find could be explained. Not who brought them, not where they came from, not why they exist in this form. As of 2025, they remain in storage, unshown, untraced, unclaimed, and entirely unresolved. None of these gemstones were part of a discovery plan. Their value wasn't traced, it was reevaluated. And in nearly every case, it wasn't the stone that changed, but the system around it. A name corrected, a record reopened, a drawer was relabeled. What they reveal is not just how fragile documentation can be, but how often significance hides in what we've already stored, already seen, already dismissed. These 10 were accidents, but the fact that they survived long enough to be noticed again may not be. Because if this list proved anything, it's that discovery rarely begins with intent. It starts when someone dares to look twice. Let us know which one resonates with you in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.